So I'm doing something a bit different here and refilming the intro to the video after I filmed the video, because this video was supposed to be a final summary review of the M1 iMac, but I went into an unscripted story that turned into a 15 to 20 minute commentary. I go on about sneakers, handbags, and rear differentials. And while I would normally just cut all of that out and just go with the subject matter of the video, instead, I decided to publish my commentary as a standalone video because it turned out, I think, I made some good points, and it helps give context to any reviews I do of not just Apple, but any products in the future. So this will be my first talking head style video, or second if you count the channel intro video, where I'm just talking to you, the audience, about me and the channel. So I guess just open your minds and listen. Oh, and ignore any mention of an iMac review. That'll happen in the next video, hopefully. Hey guys, welcome to Elevated Systems. I'm your host CJ, a lifelong PC user, builder, and enthusiast. However, today I'm going to give you my overall impressions of this iMac. But before I get into that, I want to prelude this review with a story, if you'd allow. But my view of Apple, or more specifically Mac, has drastically shifted over the past few months, and it's important to frame this review with that newly acquired view on Macs in general. So when I say I'm a lifelong PC user, I mean I've been a PC user for longer than probably a lot of you watching have been alive. My first personal computer was a Commodore 64 that I got the year it was released, 1982. Now, despite having my own computer at 7 years old, we were far from rich. In fact, we were, well, very poor. Happy, but poor. We were living in government housing project. We didn't even have a car, so I had that C64 for a long time. I learned to code in BASIC. Of course, I got into PC gaming and even learned to do electronic repair as I replaced blown capacitors and corrupt memory chips, trying just to keep it alive. From there, every other computer I owned was cobbled together from used components, from the first IBM 386 clone I put together in like 89 until I built my very first brand new PC in 1998 around the Voodoo 2 I impulse purchased from the PX in Bad Kreuznach, Germany. Now, in that time period, Macs were a thing, but while I could get a used 66 megahertz Pentium from one place and pull a compatible socket 4 motherboard from an old pre-built and then repin a proprietary power supply to make it work and basically build an entire PC for under a couple $100, that wasn't really possible with Mac. Pretty much after the Apple II, finding pieces and parts to build or even repair a Mac wasn't easy or cheap. You couldn't just hobble together a Macintosh from spare parts because old used Macs were sold as a complete system and were still expensive. And even broken Macs were sold whole, so you would need to buy several of the same model to get the parts you need to build one working Mac, and that usually costs more than just buying a brand new Mac. So I became a PC user simply due to cost and availability. And I'm a maker and a tinkerer. I like to make and work on my own stuff, especially my computers. But I know not everyone's like that, just like I'm not like that with everything I own. Like, my furnace starts making a weird noise, I call the repair guy. I don't have the knowledge or desire to troubleshoot a gas furnace. I mean, the last vehicle I owned that I had the skill set to work on myself was like a 1990 Pontiac Grand Am. Since then, I've bought new vehicles with warranties. The check engine light comes on, I take it to the shop. And that's how the vast customer base of this computer feels about this computer. They just want it to work, do what they want to do on a computer, get the Apple Care, and if something goes wrong, there's someone at the Genius Bar that can fix it. Now, I've pretty much understood this about Apple and Apple customers from the beginning, and I've tried to look through that lens as I review a Mac. So I've never got into the right to repair debate or anything like that, but as a PC builder, I have targeted my reviews towards PC users thinking about making the switch to Mac or the M1 Mac specifically. So I've highlighted the inability to make user upgrades and complained about the Apple tax, because while the M1 Macs are definitely much more comparably priced per their performance in a, I guess, PC perspective, having to pay $200 for an 8GB RAM upgrade is, a little difficult, especially when I just paid like $159 for 32 gigabytes of RAM for my last PC build. But then again, I paid over $2,000 to get the upgraded gear ratio in my RAM 1500. While I know that rear diff didn't cost $2,000 more, but I needed the extra tow capacity and I'm not about to swap out a rear differential, so I paid the money for the upgrade. But back to the topic. As a PC user reviewing a computer, any computer, for other PC users, I'm always going to do price to performance analysis because that's important to me and most PC users. And in the past, I've never been able to figure out why someone would pay so much money for so little computer. Now, hear me out. Just take, for example, the base model 2018 Mac Mini. It had a $120 Intel i3-8100 CPU, 8 gigs of RAM, that's $40, 256 gigabytes of storage, another $40, that's $200. I'll be generous and say the logic board, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cooling solution, and the tiny case, another $200. It's $400 total, and it sold for $800. That's $400 for, what, a Mac OS license? And yes, I know there are professional settings dealing with media transcoding, ingestion, where that is worth it, but for the average home user, that seemed crazy to me, especially when I could buy a mini PC with the same specs for about $350. But I very recently had a revelation, and it came talking to a guy who was camping out at Micro Center. I got there just before the store opened, so I started talking to some of the people camping out there for graphics cards. I plugged the channel, of course, and one guy there looked it up on his phone and saw my Mac reviews and, of course, had issues with that. He started going off about a lot, but definitely the price to performance discrepancy, and usually, I'll admit, I would have been right there with him, but first, the M1 has kind of closed that gap. But mostly, as he was ranting, it occurred to me, he was standing in line all night to get the chance to buy an RTX 3080 Ti, which he was gonna pay about $2,000 for to replace his $500 2000 series RTX card, and that definitely wasn't gonna get him a $1,500 performance boost. I also noticed as he continued, he was wearing a pair of Nike Adapt Auto Max, and it was one of the rare colorways, so he paid for those, and this guy was definitely not a runner, you know what I mean? So I just asked him how much more his yellow Adapts cost than the basic red or teal ones. I said the red ones are like $300, $350, what'd you pay for those? And he said $560, and I was like, that's 50 or 60% more. Can you run 50% faster? Jump 50% higher? I was being sarcastic, of course. I'm not a sneakerhead, but I know plenty. Both my sons are sneakerheads, but I am wearing a Rolex. I mean, I grew up poor, I didn't stay that way. And I don't have an expensive Swiss watch collection because they tell time exceedingly better than a more affordable Timex. It's a luxury brand, and it's a lifestyle choice. My sister-in-law has like tens of thousands of dollars invested in luxury brands and Louis Vuitton stuff. She has a YouTube channel and she showcases it. Every time she reviews a new like $2,000 handbag, I don't get in her comments and start going off about how she can get the same size bag at Walmart for like $20 and it'll hold the same amount of stuff. That's not what it's about. And while there is an argument for overextending yourself and spending money you don't have, if you have the disposable income, there's nothing wrong with treating yourself to the brands you like, and that includes the brand of Apple. Because in the end, despite being a tech or computer company, it's a brand. And unlike Dell or Lenovo, which brand themselves as like business focused and performance valued, Apple brands itself as a lifestyle, even a luxury product. I mean, look at the latest Mac commercial. The product, the Mac, isn't even mentioned. It's all about the famous people and cultural icons that use the product, the people behind the Mac. So again, it's kind of weird to me, a tech-minded person, to see that and not think, well, what are the system specs? What's the battery life? How about price point? But then I can watch a Nike commercial and it's just some famous athlete wearing the product, and I don't think, well, what about what type of reinforcing stitch pattern is used? Is that a leather or synthetic upper? What about arch support? No, I just think, well, that looks better than the LeBron 17s. I mean, it's a sneaker. I don't care about the stats, which is the same for a lot of Mac users. A new MacBook is released. They like their old MacBook. It does everything they want it to do. The new one should do it better. Add to cart. Now, I'm not saying that's all Mac users, because there are plenty who do more extensive research. You know, what's the battery life? Is the display improved? Have they upgraded the webcam? And they might come to YouTube to find those answers, which leads me to the problem I've noticed in this YouTube space, or more specifically, the tech YouTube space. Many people call them fanboys. I call it tribalism, the same tribalism that's invaded our politics and pretty much every other aspects of social life has crept its way into the tech space, and I've experienced it to some degree. The Intel fanboys attack when I feature an AMD CPU, or the AMD fanboys attack when I review an NVIDIA graphics card, but never have I seen it worse than the PC versus Mac tribes. And unfortunately, this division is exacerbated by creators in this genre on YouTube. I found that there are, for the most part, two types of Apple reviewers. If you can call them that. One tribe that just trashes anything Apple releases. It's overpriced, it's underpowered, it doesn't perform anywhere close to this non-Apple product. Apple's evil, their products suck. And then there's the tribe that just praises anything Apple releases. It's the best thing ever, nothing compares, it's the best value. Neither of these tribes offer balanced, unbiased reviews. They don't offer pros or cons, strengths or weaknesses. It's good or it's bad. I get it, it's YouTube, and both of those reviewers cater to their tribe to get the clicks. Because of this, there are very few channels out there, or objective channels out there, that successfully cover both PC and Apple tech. And I've noticed this. People coming to my channel for the reviews I've done of both the Mac Mini and then the iMac, I guess are confused. They're expecting one or the other. It's all bad or it's all good, and not all, but many are super critical. The one tribe gets bent out of shape when I highlight the product strengths, and the other tribe can't stand that I would dare to point out a weakness. Now, admittedly, it didn't help that my first video covering an Apple product went very badly. I bought a defective Mac Mini. It happens. No company is perfect. There's almost no tech company in existence that I haven't had at least one product not work as it should have. So when I couldn't get the Mac Mini past the setup, people just assumed it had to be my fault. I did something wrong, or worse, I just set it up. It was fake, which is something I'd never do. Integrity is hugely important to me, not just as a personal attribute, but it's necessary to build a successful presence on YouTube. It's crucial that not just the audience trusts me, but the brands I work with. If a product manager thinks I'm just going to trash their product for clicks, I'm not going to build many relationships in the industry. Now, I did get angry in that video. I spent $700 on a product, got it home, and it didn't work, but the mistake was expressing that unfiltered anger on video instead of just understanding stuff happens. Now, I did end up buying another Mac Mini and made another video where I explained what the problem was as it was explained to me by an Apple genius at the Apple Store, and even outlined the Apple support document that explained the problem with early versions of Big Sur and how to fix it. But still, I couldn't really bridge that divide between the two tribes. One side just assumed I was making it up because, I don't know, Apple can't make a mistake, and the other side just assumed Apple is just one big mistake. However, I'm an optimist. I know that though they have the loudest voices, those two sides are not the majority. They're the outliers. The majority of people are in the middle. They're objective. They're the people who prefer to or are more comfortable using a Mac, but understand it may not be the best solution for everyone. And it has its strengths as well as its weaknesses. And there are PC people that feel the same. And they all get along. They're like friends with one another. My wife is now a Mac person, and it was me, the lifelong PC guy, that converted her because I knew the M1 Mac Mini best fit her use case. My son's a PC guy like me and probably always will be, but my daughter can effortlessly switch between PC and Mac and would really like if Daddy gave her this iMac. And we're a happy family. So going forward, this channel is going to primarily focus on PC and consumer tech, mostly because it's just more abundant, but I will continue to cover not so much Apple products because like phones, tablets, headphones isn't really my thing, but definitely Mac products. And I'm going to continue to approach these reviews in two ways. As a PC user, highlighting the pros and cons of the system for other PC users who might be thinking about making the switch, and doing the same thing I do with any other product I review. I test the product against the performance or marketing claims the company makes, because that's what independent reviews are for, to test the claims and give potential customers unbiased, scientifically determined data to assist with that decision and to educate consumers. A lot of people hear fastest, best, outstanding performance, and it works. Those marketing people are good at what they do, and the keywords work. A good reviewer doesn't just parrot those keywords. They spend time testing the product, provide measurable and repeatable data for the viewer, and in some cases offer opinions based on that data or like many years of experience in the field. So I'll continue to provide unbiased reviews of this iMac and future Mac products on the channel, and if that's what you want to see, then you came to the right place. But if you're in one of those outlier tribes and can't handle PC and Mac peacefully coexisting, then just retreat to your Reddit subforums, because this channel probably isn't for you. And I think that's where I'll end that before my sub count drops to 0. And I guess I'll just conclude with 2 points. First, it's perfectly fine to have an opinion based on your personal experience. You like Mac better than PC or vice versa for whatever reason, that's fine. It's when you think your opinion is the only correct opinion and you attack anyone else who doesn't share that opinion. That's not healthy. But again, that's just my opinion. Second, as far as value of something, value is set by the market. A product is worth what people are willing to pay for it. I personally don't think an RTX 3070 is worth $1,000, but they're flying off the shelves at $1,000, so I guess they're worth $1,000. You might not think this iMac is worth $1,800, but Apple has no problem selling them at that price, so it's worth $1,800. And now I've given away a piece of my final review, but like I said, I will be getting to this complete iMac review really soon. I hope y'all will come back for that. I assume if you're still watching, it's because you're an objective person, like in the middle, not one of those irrational fanboys. So if that's you, be sure to hit that like and maybe consider subscribing. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe.